anything at all from this video is that I want you to go to your social media immediately and remove the word aspiring from aspiring writer in your bio. This is the Prose and Pastries podcast, and today we're going to be talking about the 3 biggest lies you've been told about writing and the new rules that you should follow instead.
Hi, I'm Jen and I run events for writers. I've had some small success with my own writing, but what I'd love is the big fish publishing contract with the literary agent that all writers dream about. And how best to find out about how to do that than to speak to the people who've experienced it themselves. This is the Prose and Pastries podcast and I'm your host, Jen Flannery.
Okay, let's get straight into it in reverse order. Number 3, the 3rd biggest lie that you have been told about writing is that you have to write every single day to be a writer. Now, you might have seen some of my previous episodes, and I've been talking to a lot of writers over the course of running my own writing retreat events, and they all have lots of different advice. And one of them that they absolutely do not agree on is this, is about writing every single day. I think when people talk about the idea of writing every day, what they really mean is that you need to make sure that you're a regular writer. If you write a page or so and then you don't touch it for a year, it's going to take you a very, very long time to actually write a novel or a short story or anything at all. But the main thing that you need to take away from this is that you decide the rules. You decide what your writing schedule should be. The more often you write, the quicker you're going to produce something and the stronger your writing will be because you'll have more practice at it. But ultimately, it's down to you, it's down to your schedule, it's down to your own personal preference and choice and life about when you write. So number 3 is that you do not have to write every single day. But the new rule should be that as a writer, you will design your own writing schedule that works for you. The 2nd biggest lie that you have been told about writing and what it takes to be a writer is that you should write what you know. If we all wrote everything that we know and only went by our own personal experiences, we would have a lot of very, very boring writing, let's be honest. If you think about, genres like historical fiction, it is impossible to know exactly 100% what it was like to live in the 1800s, for example, because none of us have lived there. We can do our research, but none of us can actually ever truly know and understand precisely what it's like to live in those eras. And yet, you've got hundreds, thousands of books that are written set in other eras. What they really mean is about using your real world experience to be able to develop interesting and believable characters and situations, and being able to respond to those situations in a realistic way. That's what people mean when they're really talking about the idea of only writing what you know. We can write about other eras and other lifestyles as long as we need to do the research. One of the things that I say I would absolutely 100% avoid is writing about someone else's cultural experience. You want to avoid cultural appropriation. If you do have to write about another character or include another character that has a different cultural experience to you, then I would always say use a sensitivity reader to make sure that you're given an accurate portrayal of what life is like. Number 2 lie is only write what you know. Our new rule is going to be that we will use our own experience to enrich our writing, and we will research thoroughly anything that we don't know about to make sure that it can feel as authentic as it possibly can be. And finally, our number 1 lie that you have been told about writing that is absolutely 100% not true is that you can only class yourself as a writer if you are a traditionally published writer. And that is absolutely not the case. There was some research done a few years ago where I think it was something like 82% of Americans had said that they wanted to write a novel, but in actual fact, only barely 1% could actually go through with it and complete it. And so, if you're able to sit down and actually write and complete a novel, that in itself makes you a writer. If you look back at some of my podcast episodes, and also, like I say, I've spoken to lots of writers actually on my retreats, a lot of them have gone through various ups and downs throughout their career. They've been suddenly published, and then sometimes their publisher might go under, or they've been dropped by their agent, or they've had a change in circumstances that mean that they're not a traditionally published writer anymore. You can be very, very successful as an indie author and a self-published author. You only need to look at Colleen Hoover for it as a really perfect example of somebody who was self-published and then was picked up and was, traditionally published, obviously. But there isn't one route. There isn't one route to being a writer. And I think the most important thing is it's all about how you view yourself and how you view your identity. The very action of sitting down and writing a book makes you a writer, not your credentials, not the list of awards that you've won or haven't won. None of that matters. It's how you view yourself. One of the first things I want you to do, if you're somebody who's got aspiring writer written in your bio on your social media, get rid of it. If you're sitting down and you're doing the work and you're writing, you are a writer. You are not aspiring. You're doing the work and you're doing the job already. It doesn't matter whether you're published yet or not. And I think that's all to do as well about that idea, that once you give yourself that identity and give yourself the permission to have that identity as a writer, that's when all the good things will come to you. Again, obviously, you have to put in the hard work. Things aren't just going to fall into your lap. But I think that idea of us having that identity is really, really important because of the twists and turns, because of the fact that sometimes someone might pull the rug underneath you, because of the fact that rejection is a massive part of being a writer and you have to get used to it. You have to have your own strong sense of identity as a writer and your strong sense of self-belief. So I don't think I've ever really talked about my own experiences on here before, so I will share that a little bit of that with you. So I've always written, obviously, most writers do. I've never really taken it seriously until maybe 10 years ago. And then 10 years ago, I wrote a YA book. Now, in hindsight, I'm very glad that YA book didn't make the cut, but I won a place on a mentoring scheme. So I was in something called Write Mentor, which is fantastic, by the way. If you write YA or you write children's fiction, do go and check that out. I had a mentor that I worked with, and at the end of it, there was an agent showcase. I put that book forward, and I had 8 different agents all scrambling for the final draft. And obviously, for me, I thought, oh my God, this is it. This is amazing. This is going to be the moment. And I sent it off. Ultimately, the end of the story is I was not represented by a single one of them. So I'd had this massive build up, and then in came the rejections of every single one of those 8 agents. Lots of other people on that mentorship went on to do wonderful things and be published, and now I can kind of see their careers happening for them. And I'm really pleased for them for that. They absolutely deserve every moment of that. But it was a really difficult learning curve for me. Now, I don't write YA at all. That isn't the genre that I write in. It's something that I'm very glad about now because I think my writing is way stronger, and I can see all of the reasons why that book did not get picked up and did not get. So the other ways that I've been published in short story magazines, mostly American magazines. I was an accidental horror writer, so I've written various different stories in various different genres, and for some reason it was the horror stories that got picked up and got published and I got paid for. So again, my career where I really wanted to also write a bit of literary fiction didn't really happen, and the genre fiction is where I had my most success as a short story writer, and that was fantastic. And like I say, I actually got paid for it, which is really good as well. So again, that idea of a very different kind of curve. I've had short stories as well where I've written them specifically for particular publications in mind, and they've been rejected, and then a different publication has picked that up. Again, you've got to have a very strong sense of self-identity as a writer to be able to put up with that rejection and just kind of move on. And then I decided I would try my hand at self-publishing. Because why not? Everybody hears about these massive success stories on social media. I've been building my own social media up quite a bit. I had certain videos that had more than 1 million views. There's one of them that still gets views every single day. And I thought, brilliant, I've got an audience here. This is the moment yet again. I'd spent about 1.5 years, I think, writing a historical fiction book. I spent a lot of time and effort writing into it. I still love the book and still very, very much believe in the book. In fact, I might even have a copy here. This isn't a plug, but I'll just show you so you can believe that it actually exists. So it's set in the 1920s. It's called Trouble in Atlantic City, and I had the best time writing it. It was wonderful. I'm really super into the 1920s. And I love a little bit of history and all that whole kind of mob wife thing. And I thought, brilliant, I'll use this to promote it. And self-publishing is so hard. It really is. Social media makes it look so easy to set something up and sell books and get them out there, and it really is not. Absolute respect for anybody who makes a career from being a self-published writer, because it takes such a lot of hard work to get it out there once you've done it. It's not something I wish to ever do again. I've written something that's very different now. I'm working on something that's a contemporary novel, and I do really hope that I will go forward and get myself a literary agent. But the reason I'm telling you these stories is just that idea of the twists and turns. I've been writing for more than 10 years now. Like I said, I have had moments where I've been able to make money from writing. Trouble in Atlantic City, I had a great time writing it. There were personal elements in that book, even though it's set in the 1920s, that, I just really enjoyed writing. And it took a lot of hard work, and, have a lot of love for that book still. But again, I'm kind of glad that wasn't the book. So yeah, it's a real tough business to be in if you want to be a writer. Nobody does it for the money. Everybody does it for the love. If you manage to make money while you're doing it, then brilliant. But it really is quite tough out there. So I hope that this video has really helped you. If you've ever been told any of those lies, you don't have to believe in them. If you take anything at all from this video, is that I want you to go to your social media immediately and remove the word aspiring from aspiring writer in your bio. That is my biggest takeaway for you. I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.